Neon Tomb is easily one of the darkest and most brutal missions in Ready or Not. You walk into a nightclub filled with dead bodies, cell phones buzzing, and muffled screams under pounding music, and it just gets worse from there. The enemies, armored, heavily armed, insanely aggressive, and some even wearing suicide vests. On my first try, I somehow pulled off an S rank, but when I went back to do it again, I lost over and over, nearly 20 times. The map itself is a maze, 2 floors, tons of space, and very little cover. While the Pepperball gun is great in some missions, here felt like I brought a water gun to a war zone. In the end, I had to swap out to a lethal loadout, and the footage from that run is hilarious, because I was so tilted from losing that I started headshotting everything in sight. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I finally beat Neon Tomb, and why this mission is way harder than it looks. Let's talk loadout. First things first, don't come in here light. You want heavy armor. The enemies in Neon Tomb are just aggressive. They're accurate, and they're well armed. If you get caught without protection, you're toast. Next up, flashbangs. Bring as many as you can. This map is packed with big open rooms and high ceilings, which means you can toss flashbangs deep into a room and still get everyone stunned. It's honestly the best way to control the chaos before it controls you. Now, weapons. Yeah, you can bring the Pepperball gun if you want, if you're chasing the non-lethals, but I'm gonna be honest, in this mission, I feel like showing up with a tank. I'm so tired of these guys talking about how they hate my country, how we're a bunch of pussies, you know what I mean? Bring something that's gonna shatter their teeth. So yeah, for your first few runs, I highly recommend going lethal. In my playthrough, I ran the M114S16, also known as the Punisher. It's a high-powered rifle and it absolutely shredded the enemies. It gave me the stopping power I needed to survive those aggressive pushes. I suggest bringing the mirror gun as well. Just do it. It's a massive advantage being able to see what's inside rooms in this mission, and it's especially important here because some of the guys wear suicide vests. The mirror can save you from walking into a nightmare. I would also recommend giving your team a few wedges. I didn't take advantage of them in my run, but I really should have. The layout of Neon Tomb makes it easy for enemies to flank you, especially with the big dance floor in the middle of the map. No matter where you're positioned, enemies in that area have a way to push into your room. Using wedges to lock down those entry points buys you time, control, and a lot more breathing room. So bottom line, heavy armor, plenty of flashes, lethal rifle, mirror gun, and wedges for your team. Starting the mission off, it's rare to see anyone behind the first door, but don't get careless, I have seen someone chilling right there. Sometimes an enemy will also post up in that small window on the left, so always check that angle. It's uncommon to find threats in the first few rooms, but it does happen, so just be ready. The door straight past those double doors leads straight into the club. Instead of rushing in, I like to take the outskirts route first. Stay on the outer edges of the map. It gives you better control of your entry points and helps you avoid getting surrounded too early. So if we're saying where we're at right now is the left side of the map, the club is on your right side. You want to be mindful of any doors on your right side because there's usually enemies in there. Additionally, if there isn't enemies in that room directly, there could be other doors that are open that look into the dance floor, so you need to be careful. It's mostly a fight you cannot win because it's hard to see in that dance floor. Any doors on the right side, I like to close them, and if you can, wedge them. So opening up into this little straightaway, there's a door on your left side, or opening rather, that leads upstairs, and then there's a bar on your right side. Both can be choke points with enemies lying in wait. Like I said before, if possible, I like to close the doors on the right. We can deal with those guys later. As you move into the back section of the map, there's this hot tub slash spa slash sauna thing. This area is usually kind of tricky. The enemies don't tend to hide in the bathrooms. They're usually in the, middle part with there's these foggy windows, right? It's hard to see. You want to try your best to clear that area. You'll find civilians in the back hallways as well as those bathrooms. Entering this room, I like to take the door that is closer to the bathrooms, rather than that entryway that is closer to the stairs that lead to the second floor. I find that the doors closer to the bathroom takes the enemies by surprise. Once you clear that, it's time to move upstairs. I highly recommend turning the music off once you get up there. It makes it much easier to hear enemy audio cues and keep your team in control. The second floor really is where things start to fall apart. You've got these two massive rooms that feel like a confusing maze, wide open, full of angles, and always packed with enemies. The problem is every corner you turn opens up into a long sight line, and if you're trying to use the Pepperball gun in this mission, good luck. It's tough to tag enemies far away enough to make them surrender before they light you up. And even if you manage to drop one, there are usually a couple guys waiting in the wings, which makes it almost impossible to secure that arrest without getting pushed. Some quick tips: balance, speed, and control. You want to be slow and methodical, but don't take too long. One of your objectives is to arrest Kodama, and if you drag things out, the suspects will sometimes execute him before you reach him. Handle suicide vest carefully. If you spot an enemy wearing a suicide vest, don't rush it. Back off, take cover around a corner, and use your flashes before engaging. Playing aggressive here usually ends badly. If you see them, they'll usually run away. They won't have a weapon, and they'll hide somewhere and wait for you to get up close. Use audio cues. This mission gives you a lot of sound to work with. Enemies are loud, and if there's a civilian nearby, you often hear suspects shouting at them to shut up. Pay attention to those cues. They'll tell you where to focus. And this is kind of why I like to turn the music off. Clear rooms yourself. I don't recommend sending AI teammates into rooms on this mission. Most rooms are too large and the enemies hit hard, so your team will often get dropped. I find it much safer to clear the big spaces yourself while keeping your squad locked down to cover. And that's Neon Tomb. Honestly, the mission is brutal. Between the chaos of the nightclub, the armored suspects, and the constant threat of suicide vests, it feels like the game is throwing everything at you all at once. On my first run, I got lucky with that S rank, but going back through it showed me just how unforgiving this map really is. I thought I was nice. If you're going to take it on, make sure you bring the right gear, keep your flashes handy, and don't be afraid to play it slow when things get messy. If you found this breakdown helpful, drop a like, it really helps out. And if you managed to beat Neon Tomb yourself, I want to hear about it in the comments. Did you go lethal? Did you actually survive with the Pepperball gun? Or did you have to go full Punisher mode like I did? Thanks for watching, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.